G'day trendsetters, Mark Batten in Australia, and here for day 32 of the 60-day video momentum challenge. The topic for today is the future. What are the challenges as I see them for the future? It's a wide and broad question. We could talk about politics, we could talk about personal issues, we could talk about the local community, we could talk about any aspect of somebody else's life and the way that it's impacting the world. There's a lot of things that you can talk about when you talk about so what of the future and what of the challenges. My focus on this is twofold. It's in my way that I see and understand the future, and it's in the choice of the words that I have. What if I said to you that there is no past and there is no future? Make a comment if you like below the video, but that's what I believe. That's what I believe. There is no past and there is no future. There is only the moment that we live in, the now. And in that comes a whole lot of challenges in the way that I see the world compared with most other people. To try and frame my thinking for those of you that might be challenged by this, there was a time when the world was flat, apparently, or at least mankind thought that was the case. Most people believe the sun rises and the sun sets every day, and have never really challenged the aspect of the fact that the sun stays in one place. It's the world that we live on that's moving. It's in perpetual motion. Each moment it moves, it's changing. And in fact, the sun doesn't rise and the sun doesn't set. It's us moving around on this planet that makes it seem so. Have you ever thought about the wind blowing? Well, it doesn't blow. What you're actually feeling is a vacuum. The wind actually sucks. Well, the wind does suck. So all these different concepts in physics have been challenged, and the concept of time has also been challenged. And modern physics tells us that time is an illusion and that it's a human construct based on what is really an illusion. So if I talk about the future, it's only a word that I use to try and speak within a framework that most of us use. And the future to me is simply the now that I'm living in. Well, here's another one for you. If I can remember my past and there is no time, how come I'm not remembering my future? What's stopping me? Or is in fact there anything stopping me? Is it just part of me that I'm not using correctly because of the conditioning of the environmental circumstances? These are all big questions, but my personal belief is that the future is in the now, and that's why we shouldn't be thinking about what appears to be the past or what might appear to be our vision or our goals for the future in too much detail. So, in terms of what I think about of the future, for me it's around freedom. you'll see that I hashtag myself as a freepreneur. What that means is that I'm really interested in all of the freedoms that are given to us when we live this life. And I'm talking about freedom of choice. I'm talking about to be that free spirit that we all have within us, that sometimes we have caged ourselves from living. I'm talking about the freedom to pay things forward in my thinking, so to imagine, reimagine and imagine the future into being right now. It's a matter of living in no time. Do you know what no time is? Have you heard of that concept of living in no time? The way that I'll explain it here, if you're not familiar with it, is those moments in your life when you've been fully awake, but time has just seemed to have stopped, or you have no ability to remember just how much time has passed. And this happens in many ways. It can happen when you're driving your car to work and you realise that you've just travelled for 35 minutes in the car and you can't remember how you got there, and the time seems to have just disappeared and suddenly you're there. It can be those wonderful moments with your lover when you just don't know what the time is after the activity's finished. It can be going to sleep and waking up and not really understanding how possibly those hours have just disappeared with very little memory of them. And living in no time is a really, really interesting concept, and it's one which I'm coming to learn more and more about as I focus more on it. But the reality of living a life is that, as I said in my last video, I'm bothered by anxieties and things from the past, habitual behaviours, habitual ways of thinking, which are stopping me from really living in the now all of the time. But I am focused on changing that way of being. And I'm changing that way of being each day, and in every way I'm getting better and better. And it's by challenging those thoughts that come into my mind as to whether or not they're real or whether or not they're self-imposed limitations that are stopping me from living my free self in every which way but loose. I believe that all the power that ever was, is, or ever shall be, is here now for me to use. And in that space there is no time. So, what of the future? I suppose in the way that most people think of it, I do have a dream, but it is a dream. I'm not going to share that with you because I also have a belief that that's my own personal thing for me to keep to myself. But dreaming is really important, and dreaming in a no-time space is also incredibly powerful. That's me for today. This is Battenman signing out, trendsetters. Cheers.